Colleges are shut as far as Delhi is concerned up until Saturday. Doctor, also take us through, when we talk about the impacts of pollution, we're also seeing an uptick as far as mental health studies are concerned in, in matters whether it's depression or even anxiety.
I think one of the reasons that is causing a rise of, mental health issues again due to air pollution is because we are again confining ourselves in the boundaries of our own homes, because that is what the current advisory is. Many institutes, many even workplaces have again announced work from home protocols. And that is why, when people are not able to meet other people, somehow or the other, it affects their psychology. Apart from that, air pollution can have a myriad of health effects that might, first present as some sort of a mental, lack of bandwidth, so as to say, which might, further on lead to depression. But when we talk about air pollution in these terms, we are only looking at the short-term effects, because, only people who are susceptible to these effects will be showing, some sort of damage to their cells in the short term. Here we are talking about people who already have, say, pre-existing conditions, genetic conditions, or have had instances of asthma, which they've had seen exacerbations over time, which might have resulted in hospitalizations, or have had previously been affected with severe cases of pneumonia. But even people who are not susceptible to these diseases will be seeing a shortening of their lifespan if they continue to breathe this air, and if they're not taking precautions like wearing masks, or restricting themselves to their homes where they can hopefully have some air purifiers. Because in the long term, not only will they be suffering from higher rates of heart attacks, higher rates of deaths due to pneumonia, but there is also a very increased risk of stroke, which is a clot going to the brain causing paralysis or even death, as well as cancer. And we are not just talking about lung cancer, we are talking about all sorts of cancers, because the kind of air that we're breathing will be causing microscopic damage to cells, and it will not be presenting itself in 1 or 2 days. It might be decades down the line. And you even have to consider that in the economic aspect, because when people are older, we are assuming they're contributing their maximum, and taking away those years from someone's life is not only tragic, but will also result in an economic impact, which is very hard to measure right now.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Dhamija and Ms. Osho, for joining us this morning on NDTV 24x7. And our fight against pollution will continue, irrespective of these measures in place or not. And of course, the responsibility of every citizen also not to contribute to the pollution, which is, as it is, extremely high in the dangerous category as far as the Delhi NCR region is concerned. So in tracks, the Prime Minister has addressed the Parliament in Guyana, the Prime Minister's 14th speech before a foreign legislator, offering prayers also at the Saraswati Vidya Niketan. He is the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Guyana in over 50 years. He's also spoken about how grateful he is for the honor that was bestowed upon him as far as the relationship and ties are concerned, which date back to 180 years when the first Indian had visited the country. Now, he has talked about, the relationship since. He's also spoken about how humanity comes first. And let's just listen in to what the Prime Minister had to say. He went on to say that democracy first and humanity first. That is the measure. That is the message that the Prime Minister put out in his trip.
गयाना की इस ऐतिहासिक पार्लियामेंट में आप सभी ने मुझे अपने बीच आने के लिए निमंत्रित किया। मैं आपका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं। साथियों, भारत और गयाना का नाता बहुत गहरा है। करीब 180 साल पहले किसी भारतीय का पहली बार गयाना की धरती पर कदम पड़ा था। भारत और गयाना का रिश्ता आत्मीयता से भरा रहा है और जो बात मैं कभी नहीं भूल सकता और वो है चटनी। चटनी भारत की हो या फिर गयाना की, वाकई कमाल की होती है।
And Prime Minister Modi also paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi at the Promenade Garden in Georgetown, at his statue in the historic area as well. And he recalled Mahatma Gandhi's eternal values of peace and non-violence, which continue to guide humanity. The statue was installed in commemoration of Mahatma Gandhi's 100th birth anniversary in 1969.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just concluded his 6-day trip, starting from Nigeria, a West African nation, then to Brazil to attend the G20. And now, in the last leg of the trip, he also visited Guyana. The Guyana, South American country, it also holds relevance because it has got a lot of natural reserves. And India is also trying to forge an alliance with these South American countries for getting more reserves, for more natural resources for India, and also to diversify its partnership when it comes to defense, space technology, clean energy. So these were the issues which the Prime Minister spoke about in this entire trip. What stood out in this entire trip was that how Prime Minister spoke about the global conflict, how to move towards cleaner energy, but a special reference for his visit in Guyana. Prime Minister Modi also happens to be the only Indian Prime Minister who has the record of addressing the highest number of foreign parliaments, and he also addressed the Parliament of Guyana, where he spoke about that how India and Guyana have a shared history, how India never approaches or never promotes the idea of expansionism or capturing natural resources in other territories. So it was also a kind of a message which the Prime Minister of India was giving to its immediate neighborhood in Southeast Asia. We see the conflict of involving China in South China Sea, and how it is having troubled relations with its neighborhood in Taiwan or with Tibet. Besides that, he also spoke about that how democracy is in our DNA. He spoke about that India and Guyana both share a very special reference when it comes to democracy, and also Prime Minister spoke about that both India and Guyana have a lot in common, and today both the countries are strengthening democracy in the world. And the Prime Minister also emphasized that India's stance against expansionism and capturing natural resources in another territory has always been on the other side, like India has never promoted that. Besides that, he also said that it is not the time of war, hinting towards the global conflict, be it in Russia and Ukraine or in the Middle East, that how Israel and Hamas are fighting in Gaza. Then you have a conflict going on between Israel and Hezbollah, which Lebanon is suffering for all this while. So Prime Minister spoke on multiple issues, but this trip will certainly be important for the fact that India is trying to look for new alliance partners, not just in immediate neighborhood or West, but in countries where there has been no representation of Indian leaders for a very long time, because Guyana happens to be a country where an Indian Prime Minister has visited after 56 years.
Following a packed day of fruitful bilateral engagements on Wednesday, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi continued his historic state visit to Guyana with an address to a special sitting of the National Assembly. During his remarks, the Indian leader underscored the importance of democracy and humanity for both national and global development, as well as the key roles of women and youths. He also highlighted that Guyana could serve as India's gateway into the South American and Caribbean regions. Prime Minister Modi also visited key historic sites such as the Mahatma Gandhi statue and the Arya Samaj monument in Georgetown, as well as the Saraswati Vidya Niketan School, where he had spent some time during his last visit to Guyana 24 years ago. The Prime Minister wrapped up his high-level visit in Guyana by engaging current and past Guyanese cricket icons and also prominent members of the Indian diaspora in Guyana. Prime Minister Modi said this visit, which is the final leg of his foreign tour, will not only build on the already strong bilateral relations at a government-to-government level, but also enhance people-to-people and cultural ties between Guyana and India. Modi is the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Guyana in 56 years. Approximately 40% of Guyana's 800,000 population are of East Indian descent. As shown upon his arrival Tuesday evening, as well as throughout his stay in Georgetown, Prime Minister Modi's visit was highly anticipated, especially by the Indian diaspora here. I am Vanu Manik Chand, reporting from Georgetown, Guyana.
Right, switching tracks now to Maharashtra, and it is the BMC that is making all kind of thorough planning and arrangements. They are in place for the counting that's going to take place from 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's the 23rd. Well, do remember that in Mumbai, 52.65% voting took place in the city and about 56.39% as far as the suburban area is concerned. Now, we mentioned that voting is going to start tomorrow early in the morning, and voting is going to be taking place as far as Mumbai is concerned in 36 centers for 36 constituencies. More than 2,700 employees are involved as far as the counting process is concerned. About 10,000 police has been deployed for security. The training of employees for counting of votes is taking place as well. And we have my colleagues Radhika and Juhi joining us. Radhika, over to you first. Take us through the kind of arrangements that are in place in terms of the security in order to ensure and also the kind of training that one is talking about as far as the employees are concerned for training. And that's going to start the training as far as counting is concerned, and counting that's going to begin as early as 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
That's right. States set for counting as far as Maharashtra elections are concerned. Of course, it is a big day, highly anticipated day, considering the change in political landscape that we saw 2019, very different from 2024. Yes, all the arrangements have been put in place. In fact, Juhi, we believe, is at a counting center where she can take us through the arrangements that have been put in place. Yes, as you rightly mentioned, thousands of election officials deployed, at least about 10,000 police personnel, including people from central agencies, officials from central agencies have been deployed. Training happening round the clock. There was one round of training that happened yesterday, another round of training set to take place today as to what the process is going to be when the counting starts at about 8 a.m. tomorrow. Yes, as far as Mumbai is concerned, 36 strong rooms, counting centers across 36 constituencies, and they will be manned by thousands of police personnel, and of course at least about 2,700 to 3,000 election officials also going to work round the clock tomorrow in order to decide the fate as far as Maharashtra Assembly elections are concerned. And as I've been saying, it is going to be exciting. It is going to be interesting. We're not talking about 4 political parties. We're talking about 6 political parties that are in fray, which include fragmented political parties such as the NCP as well as Sena, and of course the national parties, BJP and the Congress. So is it going to be Mahayuti that will, retain its position, or will MVA make a comeback? That is something we'll have to wait and watch out for. We saw frenzied campaigning by national leaders. We saw attacks and counterattacks and carpet bombing of, schemes as well as guarantees and promises made. Latki Behan scheme seems to have resonated well with the rural population. So yes, it is going to be difficult to predict how the counting will be. Of course, exit polls giving different pictures. Most of it giving a landslide victory for Mahayuti. Some talking about hung assembly. Also, parties having these meetings, round the clock meetings as well over the last 1 or 2 days as to what they can do if it is a hung assembly, which are the independents they can talk to, which are the smaller parties they can perhaps tie up with, and of course on the chief ministerial post as well. So parties in a huddle certainly, but we'll really have to see how things will play out tomorrow. It is going to be interesting, fascinating, but yes, arrangements put in place across all the constituencies in Maharashtra, and particularly in Mumbai, the strong rooms as well as counting places have been highly secure.
Juhi, the voter turnout as far as the assembly elections are concerned was the highest since 1995. We're talking about 65.11% turnout that was recorded. This exceeded the polling percentage in the state in 2024. We're talking about 61.33%. And of course, this is the highest since the last time we saw such a huge turnout was back in 1995 to the tune of 71.7%. What does this higher voter turnout mean as far as the election results are concerned? What kind of bearings would it have?
As you rightly said, the voting percentage this year is high compared to all these years, because in 1995 the voting percentage was high, and after 1995 it is 2024 when the voting percentage has gone high. It is said that there are various factors that has affected the voting percentage, especially the Ladki Bahin Yojana scheme that has affected the people, and the voting turnout, if we see, there are women who have voted on high basis because of the Ladki Bahin Yojana. It is said because of the BJP leaders that the women have come out of their houses and voted, and this is beneficial for BJP. It is said by official leaders of BJP itself. Right now I am standing outside Dadar Mahim Constituency Assembly strong room, where tomorrow counting procedure will take place for the Dadar Mahim Assembly, and the preparations are completed. As you can see, there are police security sitting outside, and certain measures regarding the security are taken. Also outside the strong room where the EVM machines have kept, there are 2 to 3 election officers who are sitting over there, so they can keep an eye on the election machines. Tomorrow from 8 a.m. the counting procedure will begin, and once the counting procedure begins, no one is allowed to enter that particular area. 100 meters, everything will be shut down and no one will be allowed to enter. Only few party people who are allotted passes will be allowed to go inside to see if everything is going in right. So tomorrow from 8 a.m. the counting procedure will begin, and people who they have voted, the Maharashtra CM will be decided. It is to see that if Mahayuti will once again come into governance, or the Mahavikas Agadi, who were forced to get down in mid 2019, will once again come with a strong number of MLAs tomorrow and form their governance. There are certain meetings also planned today by Mahayuti and Mahavikas Agadi, that if we get a good amount of MLAs, where shall we keep them in safer place so that no one goes into each other's party. So today everything will be planned and plotted, and yes, everyone is waiting for tomorrow. As Radhika also said that in 2019 the political conditions were different in Maharashtra, and in 2024 the political conditions are different, very much different, because there are many unnatural alliances that have taken place in 2024 in Maharashtra. There are 2 NCPs, there are 2 Shiv Senas, and yes, BJP and Congress is standing, but again the voters are divided because these 2 main parties are divided, and since the voters are divided, the voting percentage have changed, and no one is confidently saying that our candidate will win. And yes, the exit polls are giving edge for Mahayuti, but again tomorrow when the counting procedure will start, it will be cleared later on that whom people have voted for Maharashtra.
Right, thank you so much, Juhi and Radhika. All eyes on Maharashtra as voting will start. Voting that got completed on the 20th, and the results that are going to come out tomorrow, not just for Maharashtra but also for the state of Jharkhand. Moving on now to more news that will come on the other side. For now, we're slipping in a very short break. Back with a whole lot more. To stay with us.
Download any single ID partner app, link your card and earn reward with top brand.
Get it free with single ID.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
कैसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए.
In the presence of those who are shaping our future.
मेरी तरफ से आपको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं हैं.
NDTV World, your new home for global news is here. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
हम ये चुनाव विकास के मुद्दे पर लड़ रहे हैं.
Let them come for an open debate with me. I've challenged Eknath Shinde multiple times.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Welcome back. Let's get you the latest. And according to a report that has been published, this is in regard to packaged food that is supplied in lower income to middle income countries. In that group, the food is said to be substandard, and this is based on companies that also include Nestle, as well as companies such as Unilever, Hershey's, as well as Coca-Cola. These companies are supplying substandard packaged food as far as India is concerned, according to this new report that's been published by Access to Nutrition Initiative, a non-profit global foundation that has found that leading food and beverage companies on an average sell products that are less healthy in low and middle income countries compared to what they sell in high income countries. This report, which is the 5th edition of the Global Access to Nutrition Index, states that it's assessed 30 of the world's largest F&B manufacturers. That's 23% of the global F&B market on their performance, and this is what their finding has shown. They have come to the conclusion that according to this NGO, that the ratings that were given out of 5, and out of 5, 3.5 is considered to be a healthier choice. But most of these multinational companies were rated only 1.8. They were rated as low as 1.8. Showing the picture basically that the packaged material that is being sold in lower income and higher and middle income countries, which includes India, has been selling products, which also includes companies such as PepsiCo, Nestle, as well as companies like Hershey's and Coca-Cola also included, where they are selling substandard food when it comes to packaged food in India. And to get more on this, we also have with us Revant Himmat Singhia. He is a food safety campaigner. We also have with us Pooja Malhotra, a nutritionist, joining us. Let me take my first question across to Pooja. Let's just talk about the nutrition as far as the packaged food is concerned. We're seeing an uptake as far as diseases are concerned. We're talking about non-communicable diseases in the country, which are almost 50%. And we're talking about obesity that stands at 24% for women, 23% for men. We're talking about over 10 crore people in the country who are suffering from diabetes. And all this is being linked to a change as far as their diet is concerned and their dependency on packaged food. And now what's really coming out is that packaged food is not as safe, or rather not as healthy as it's claiming to be. Pooja.
A very good morning, Divya. Very good morning, Revant, and to all the viewers. And thank you for having me speak on this extremely important and relevant topic of food labels. And this is becoming increasingly relevant because of the increasing dependency on the increased intake of packaged foods, the ultra-processed foods, which are all high in calories, saturated fat, added sugars, sodium, And there is increased intake of all these foods. At the same time, the non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, hypertension, their incidence is increasing. Like you mentioned, that there are about 10 crore diabetics in India, and India is now being called the diabetes capital of the world. Now, a middle-income country like India is reeling under the burden of double malnutrition. So while on one hand, we have a segment of our population which is dealing with undernutrition because they're not getting enough food to eat, they're not getting enough calories, enough nutrients. On the other hand, we have a huge segment of the population which is increasingly consuming these packaged and processed foods, which are full of these unhealthy ingredients and unhealthy nutrients, which is really, leading to an increased incidence of all these diseases. They are increasingly consuming much more calories and much lesser protein than they should be consuming. And as a result, these are increasing. And this is because of lacks in the labeling laws in our country. So while they are mentioning the nutritional information at the back of the label, which is really coming in a very small font and in a way which is not comprehensible to a large segment of the population. So even if the nutritional information is there, most of the people cannot really comprehend it, cannot really make sense of what it means to their health. So the labels need to be more interpretive. They need to be more descriptive. Some kind of a rating system needs to be evolved. It could be done in the form of a color scale or a colorimeter, something similar to a pH meter, where the foods could be given a color coding or a star rating, or it should be more bold. It should be more clear so that the consumer can understand. And there is a need to
like we've seen in Mexico, because they have in fact started putting out the ingredients out on the front of the packaging rather than the back, and which is what findings have now come out with, that as far as sugary drinks are concerned, there's been a decline in sugary drinks, especially amongst the children, thanks to those warning signs that have been put out on the front of the packaging. Let's just go across to Arvind. Arvind, take us through, when we talk about putting out these warning signs right in the front, where, is there a lack of awareness, or can we say also affordability plays a big role when it comes to the kind of dietary measures that we have here in India, considering that, this is impacting the lower income and the middle income countries rather than the high income countries? Is it because they have to keep the cost of the product low, which is why, they are going in for such substandard material?
Yeah, so there are three broad reasons why the largest companies are giving us substandard material. One, of course, is the fact that we are lower income. So as a result, if it's a 10 rupee product, the cost price is often 1 or 2 rupees. So in 1 or 2 rupees, they really cannot give you something healthy. So one, of course, is the price point and the lower income nature of India. Two is the regulation, that the regulations are not strong enough in India, so the companies feel they can get away with anything they want. So that's number two. And number three is lack of health awareness. So even people who are who have the money, they're just not aware. So as a result, they're not willing to pay for something more better quality, because they just don't know what is good, what is not good. So it's very important for all of us.
How misleading are the labels on a packaged material, whether it's even someone claiming to be organic or someone claiming to be, say, gluten-free? How authentic are those labels? Can we question whether it's actually gluten-free, whether it's actually organic, and whether it's actually high quality, or rather, is it actually healthy?
Yeah, it's very, very misleading. The front of pack is very, very misleading. The back of pack is relatively honest. So I say this one thing, leading brands are often the most misleading brands as well. And that's the sad reality of India. So you will see high protein, you will see products promoting high protein, but they'll have 2-3 grams of protein. You will see high fiber with barely any fiber. So the front of pack is very misleading. However, if you turn around the pack and if you read the back of the pack, the ingredient list and the nutrition label, that is relatively accurate. Of course, that also sometimes is not 100% accurate, but that is relatively accurate. And that's a great place to start.
Which are the names that one needs to like really be warned of? You know, if I see something on a packaging that I would, you know, whether it's high levels of sodium, etc. What are those names that I really need to watch out for?
So we need to look out for things like, usually when you look at the ingredient list, the one which is listed first is the highest in percentage. And so you should look out if the first 2 or 3 ingredients have any of those red flags. So red flags would be things like added sugars, and sugars can have a lot of names. So there are a lot of hidden sugars. If you Google and you search, then there are more than 20 kinds of hidden sugars. For example, high fructose corn syrup, maltose, dextrose, mannitol, sorbitol. There are many, many such names. So there are added sugars. Of course, the sodium content, which you would find in the nutritional composition table. So one needs to look at what are those first 2 or 3 ingredients. Very often you will find something, for example, a product like oat cookies. Now, it may barely have less than 10% of oat flour in it, and the rest of it would be refined flour, which is maida. So truly, you cannot call it an oat cookie. Another example I'll share is, say, you find those cashew nut biscuits or anything which contains nuts. Now they're going to highlight on the front that it contains nuts, whereas it may barely have less than 1% nuts, or less than, even 1% is high. They may have less than 0.5% of nuts in them. Right. So one really needs to, the need of the hour is to create awareness about how to understand, how to read, and how to comprehend these labels. And it'll be good if our regulators can make it compulsory to publish this information on the front of the label.
Right, in large fonts perhaps as well, so that people can, it drives home the point as to what really is unhealthy. I'm afraid we're completely out of time, and this conversation could really carry on for hours on end in order to make people aware of the safety hazards when it comes to what you're buying as far as packaged materials are concerned, because they are now substandard. We're talking about very big names in the country. These are multinational brands which are selling substandard material. Thank you so much, Arvind, Hemant Singh, as well as Pooja Malhotra, for joining us on the broadcast. Switching tracks now, ahead of the upcoming parliamentary session, DMK has convened a very key meeting of MPs, and the meeting will be chaired by the party president and Tamil Nadu Chief Minister. And to get more on this, we have Sam joining us. Sam, what details do you have for us?
Well, Divya, this meeting is likely to clarify to MPs the DMK's stand on key issues in the parliament, and also to adopt its strategy when it comes to certain key issues. And we understand from party sources, MK Stalin will chair the meeting, and it could be one on delimitation. The party is pushing for, if at all it's brought to the parliament, to demand to go by the 1971 census, because if they go by the 2026 population, then the state is likely to use many of its Lok Sabha seats, and they do not want a well-performing state which has effectively implemented the population control measures over the last several decades to be penalized for that. Secondly, they have staunchly opposed the one nation, one poll. If that is brought, then the party would be briefed to staunchly oppose it. Already the State Assembly has passed a resolution saying that the one nation, one poll idea is impractical, is against the spirit of democracy, and also thwarts the natural checks and balances it provides for the rulers at any point in time. Thirdly, it could also oppose if the government attempts to introduce the Waqf Amendment Bill, which is right now under the JPC. Muslims form a key vote bank for the DMK, and it would not want in any way to be seen to be supporting that. And lastly, the party is also likely to push for 50% devolution of central taxes to state governments. Already, the ruling DMK had made a strong case when the Finance Commission was in Chennai recently, saying that well-performing states like Tamil Nadu should be nurtured and should not be penalized. And they've argued that the earlier model of giving a large share of resources to developing states at the cost of denying resources for well-performing states has just not worked. So more clarity at 7 this evening, when the party would meet the MPs at the headquarters in Chennai. Divya.
Thank you so much. All eyes on that very crucial meeting that's coming up. We will keep coming back to you for more on that. Switching tracks now to Karnataka, and it's in Bengaluru that the traffic police has collected approximately 80 lakhs in a matter of one day as traffic violation fines, maximum of those were coming in. They were registered under the no entry category, and there's a special drive that will continue is what the police is saying. And Pratibha, in fact, so this is in regard to the traffic violation fines, where traffic violations to the tune of 80 lakh rupees have been collected in a matter of 24 hours by the traffic police in Bengaluru. So a special drive that will continue. It is, in fact, the responsibility now, as far as the government has taken major steps, and the traffic police are collecting violation fines now. Pratibha, of course, implementation is key, and that is what we are seeing in a matter of a day. 80 lakh rupees have been collected.
That's right. Apart from that, they've also issued a warning to citizens about a surge in fake calls and malicious links demanding money for supposed traffic fines. The police department has stated that they have been receiving a rising number of complaints regarding these scams. And in an advisory that was released, the police have cautioned that these fraudulent calls impersonating traffic authorities in an attempt to deceive people would also be looked into, and proper action would be taken on that front. And mainly involving hit-and-run cases or sharing links with false claims to contain video footage of traffic violations. To bring this under control, this is a drive that has been undertaken by the traffic department. All eyes are on how this will really work on ground as far as the motorists here are concerned.
Right, Pratibha, thank you so much for joining us with all those details. And switching tracks to Sara Ali Khan, the actor keeps it refreshingly real when it comes to her travels. In a social media post, my colleague Avira caught up with her talking about what she really does when she is not working. Let's listen to it.
From chasing sunsets to finding serenity, Sara Ali Khan has been making travel and wellness look like the ultimate blockbuster. But my thing is, Sara, how are you keeping it so real and relatable? You know, whenever we see you on Instagram traveling, it feels like, oh, this is me. I can so relate to you. You know, it doesn't look like, oh my God, Sara Ali Khan, the star. How do you do that?
Honestly, I feel like I'm very thankful that it almost seems like there are two distinct parts of my life, you know. There's Sara the actor, you know, where of course professionalism, work, hard work, hustle, 24 hours if one has to work is important, you know, and I love it and I derive a lot of energy from it. But then there's the unwind Sara, the travel Sara, which is, she's just different, you know, and I think her priorities are different. I want to explore, I want to learn, and I think that only comes when you travel like fuss-free. You know, the fewer people, the easier it is. Jaldi jaldi bhag sakte ho, gali kuchi se nikal sakte ho without anybody being like, slow down, this, that. So I think that it's not an attempt to be real or relatable. It's just me being who I am. And I think that's what connects, if at all.
You know, during travel, do you carry your own makeup kit? Do you make sure there are clothes? Sunscreen, lots of sunscreen. Makeup, there's no time when I'm traveling. Like, I recently just came back from Kedarnath, and I'd gone with my stylist come friend and manager come friend, and they were like petrified. They were like, we need to leave from here. Like, what are you doing? So, मतलब एक मिनट भी बैठने को नहीं मिलता. Makeup कहाँ लगाएंगे? मतलब it's just trekking, walking, you know, exploring, eating, sitting. Like, you guys see it all on Instagram. Yeah, where's the time? You know, we also saw, because you said you just went to Kedarnath. I don't know how many times you have been to Kedarnath.
Quite a few. Yeah. Hopefully every year.
Bulawa aate rahe. Yes. And we saw you went to this small place where you were asking for rotis. You know, this is the real Sara that we usually see. But when you go to such places, do they recognize you? Do they like come to you? Do they ask for pictures?
I think it depends. There are few times, luckily for me, fewer than not, moments where I get away with it. Agar bahut chup chap ke, like, which also I've posted on Instagram, matlab mask apni jagah, mask, chashma, topi, dupatta, hoodie, I mean everything. So when all of that happens, I guess being a little bit incognito does happen.
But in Kedarnath especially, I think it's interesting because, I mean, I am who I am because of that place. And I'd like to believe, and I think it's true that most people that come there have watched the film. Therefore, they know me. So actually, when I'm sitting around in a dhaba in Kedarnath, it's like most people do recognize me. But if I'm like sitting there having haldi pani with my friend at like 3 in the morning, one odd yatri will be like, "Mandir kis taraf hai?" I'll be like, "This is not my dhaba. I wish it was, but okay, it's to the left, you know."
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Can you tell us some moments from your travel moments when you were young that has shaped the traveler that you are today?
If I'm being honest with you, I don't think the traveler that I was when I was young has shaped me at all. No? Because like my mother and my brother, they love London, for instance, a lot. Even my father loves London. So when my parents were married, like summer holiday was always 45 days in London. And I think it's after I graduated from Columbia that I actually started exploring my own country on my own. So I think traveling for me, while I love my mother, brother, father, is a very personal and very self-discovered experience post 2016.
But when you're traveling, what is the kind of stay that you would go for? Usually, is it a hotel stay, a home stay? What is more personal for you?
I definitely think, like, for instance, with Airbnb, which I have done, whether it's in Goa or whether it's in Italy, in India, outside India, it just allows you to have like a slightly local experience as well. Whether it's you stay there and you ask the neighbors, okay, where do you get good local coffee, like I did in Italy, or whether it's like, you ask the chef ki, home style kuch machi curry aap bana do aise Goan flavor mein. So I think that Airbnb is definitely a very real way to experience organically what that place has to offer, I think.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital, Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here. NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages. Cyber frauds have cast their net wide.
A very good morning. You're watching NDTV 24x7. I'm Divya Vadva. Let's get you the latest as far as pollution is concerned, which continues to be in the dangerous category of over 350 points. Pollution right now is causing walking pneumonia. We'll get you all the details of what that really means. First, the headlines. in the Manipur crisis. It's a letter of war that continues between the BJP and the Congress. It's letter versus letter between the two parties. And Delhi fights for poor quality of air, fights against the poor quality that we are breathing here in the national capital. The AQI remains above 350 points. And the Prime Minister wraps up his three-nation tour, starting with Nigeria, going to Brazil, and then here the Prime Minister wrapped up his trip in Guyana, calling it quite momentous. One day to go for the results to be out. We're talking about the state of Maharashtra that went to polls in a single phase on the 20th. Now, security has been tightened as far as counting centres in the state is concerned. In his first response to the ICC issuing a warrant for his arrest on allegations of war crimes, it's Benjamin Netanyahu's office that described the ruling as absurd and false lies. And the first test between India and Australia is underway. Both Jaiswal as well as Padikkal have been dismissed without scoring.
This morning for... Oh, that's out. That is out. Perfect line and length.
Let's get to your top story that is in regard to the crisis in Manipur, and it's the BJP versus the Congress and a letter versus letter as far as the Manipur crisis is concerned. We're talking about a letter of the BJP chief to the Congress president, Mallikarjun Kharge, saying that the Congress is trying to sensationalize the case. That is what JP Nadda has gone on to say. While Mallikarjun Kharge has written back to the president, we're talking about Draupadi Murmu as far as the Manipur crisis is concerned. This is a war of letters in regard to the crisis that continues to simmer. Tensions are escalating in the state. The BJP raking up the illegal migration over the Manipur issue. The Congress has allowed foreign militants into India is what is being said by the BJP. While it's Mallikarjun Kharge who has now gone ahead and is asking for the intervention of the president in the matter. Well, it is Mallikarjun Kharge who is asking her as to why is it that the people continue to suffer silently so in the state of Manipur. It's the centre and the government of Manipur that have failed in Manipur is the allegation that's being made by Mallikarjun Kharge. We have Ratnadeep joining us. Ratnadeep, take us to the contents of those letters that are being exchanged between the BJP and the Congress. Of course, the BJP, they're, hitting out at the Congress on charges of allowing militants, foreign militants, and that illegal migration into the state. But it is the Congress party who is, going ahead and blaming the centre and the government in Manipur that has completely failed the people of Manipur.
That's right. It is a letter versus letter at the highest level of politics that has unfolded after last week's escalation of violence in Manipur. In fact, the Congress had written to the president about the state of affairs in Manipur. Remember, ever since last week, first, the killing of a tribal woman took place in Ziribam district and followed by the shootout between security forces and the militants, where 10 militants were killed, and then the alleged, kidnapping of 6 people, including 3 children, their brutal killing. All this led to, not only escalation of violence in Ziribam, but in Imphal Valley, in state capital itself, the properties and houses of elected MLAs, ministers were targeted by angry, mob, angry people. There had to be curfew, which had to be in place. Now it has been relaxed. In the last 3 days, violence has, incidents of violence have come down. However, mobile internet ban still continues. And in this state, Congress is trying to hit out at the center, trying to say that for months together, close to 18 to 19 months now, that Manipur is shimmering, and Congress alleges that center has not done enough to contain the situation. However, now the BJP is hitting back, saying that when you talk about militancy, when you talk about strong action against militancy, it is your government which was in power in Manipur for long. Remember, Congress was in power for 15 years before the Biren Singh led BJP government first came to power in 2017. So the BJP is saying, and that was the point of time when illegal migration was at its peak. That is the counter attack that BJP is doing on the Congress. Remember, the Congress has also pointed out that Manipur at this moment does not even has a full-time governor. It is the Assam governor who is in charge of Manipur. They have clearly blamed the Manipur chief minister for over mishandling of the situation, as well as the Union Home Ministry. Now the BJP and BJP's national president hitting back on Mallikarjun Kharge's letter to the President Draupadi Murmu, saying that questioning Congress's position and recalling past instances on how even ceasefire agreements have been signed by the then UPA government led by Congress with Milton Groves, where later on it was found that the leaders were actually illegal immigrants from Myanmar. So therefore, now this issue of blames and counter blames on the Manipur issue is actually getting a political color, with the Congress first trying to hit out at the ruling BJP in the state and center, and now the BJP launching a counterattack on the 15 years rule of Congress in the state before the BJP came to power.
Right, Ratnadeep, just stay with us, and to get more on this, we also have Dr. Pooja Tripathi, spokesperson of the Congress, joining us, and on the phone line we have Pradeep Bhandari, spokesperson of the BJP, with us. Let's just go across first to Pradeep Bhandari. When we talk about the recent violence that is being reported and violence that is continuing in the state since last year, and allegations that are being made by the Congress party involving, of course, the Prime Minister not having visited the state.
The Congress party is a party which has, when it was in power, Manipur was burning. We remember more than 120 days of blockade in Manipur. We remember how the LPG prices had shot up. We remember how the Congress party signed agreements with illegal immigrants when Mr. Chidambaram was the Home Minister. We remember how the Congress party, when it was in power, every year we used to report. For example, in 2006, 105 people lost their life. 2008, 200 people lost their life. 2010, 220 people lost their life. 2012, another 165 people lost their life. And all of this was because Congress party tried to politicize Manipur. For us, Manipur is not about politics. For us, Manipur is about law and order. It is about national security. The government is absolutely cognizant, but when the Congress party tries to sensationalize and take a political mileage of it for its own petty interest, it is our duty in national interest in order to expose the Congress party. That's what our due president has rightly done.
Right, Pooja Tripathi, the BJP chief, they're writing a letter to the Congress president saying that the Congress is doing nothing but trying to sensationalize the issue at hand.
Divya, I'm aghast at reading Naddaji's letter. First of all, we wrote a letter to President Draupadi Murmu, and why is he replying in such a provocative language? Second, today Manipur burns at the fire of mistrust, mayhem and misleadership, and this is what Naddaji has been reduced to. When we remind Naddaji of taking some actions, will he write the same hard-worded letter to that Hamar woman, the mother of three, was allegedly raped, shot at leg, killed and set on fire? Will Naddaji write the same letter to the 8-month-old baby whose body was found floating in the Kalsar river along with 3 women and children? Will Naddaji write the same letter to the 18 MLAs from ND who adopted the resolution asking for centre to reconsider reimposition of FAFSA? Will Naddaji write the same letter to NPP chief Conrad Sangma, who means no worse when he said that it is the failure of law and order by the centre? I mean, this is an example, a perfect example of misplaced priorities. Modi,
Bhandari, if you would like to respond to that, and of course also, it is, Mallikarjun Kharge in that letter who's talked about the economy, and of course, as far as inflation is concerned, that businesses have closed down, jobs are getting lost, professionals have lost their homes, essential food items as well as medicines and essential commodities are very scarce in the state. Your reaction?
Well, it is this government where the multi-dimensional party index of Manipur has come down. But the Congress party, I'm happy at least the Congress party started to respect the President of India, which the Congress party had abused. So for the first time, you're seeing that the Congress party reach out to a tribal president who they abused for the last many years. So on the part of Manipur, we are open for an open debate with the Congress party, which is trying to sensationalize. Even in the response of the Congress party, the spokesperson of the Congress party was trying to use the death of innocents in order to score political points. This is what we're saying. This is where when the discussion happened in the parliament, was the Congress party which walked out of the speech of the parliament, of the speech of the Prime Minister, knowing that when the Prime Minister will speak back, the Gandhi family will not be able to take it. So we are open for a factual debate, but we will not let the people of Manipur be used as political tools in the toolkit of the Congress party in order to score some petty narrative points.
Right. Of course, also it is Pooja Tripathi, when we talk about the allegations that are being made as far as the BJP is concerned, that the Congress has allowed foreign militants into India and they're raking up the illegal migration as far as the state is concerned.
This is really, I'm saying I'm aghast at the point of misplaced priorities. Pradeep talks about they want peace and peace restored in Manipur, and Modi ji hasn't visited Manipur in the last 16 months. He was talking just about how opposition walked out. Opposition walked out because Modi ji enters parliament with echo of Modi, Modi, Modi. Manipur is burning from last 1 year and Modi ji had to finally address when 2 women were disrobed and paraded naked in Manipur, and then Modi ji comes into parliament with echoes of Modi, Modi, and after the complete speech he tries to address Manipur. Is Manipur not a part of India? Why has Prime Minister not stepped the foot? Prime Minister has all the time in the world to visit foreign countries, and we don't have any objection in that. But why does he ignore a very important part of India? Why does Home Minister hasn't addressed the mass loot of armaments that is going on? People's home have been reduced to rubble. There have been 60,000 misplaced people staying in the refugee camps from last 16 months. And Nadda ji has a time to write to Congress President who has picked up very pertinent points of people's education, employment, poverty and everything else. And this is their reaction to Manipur. This is their reaction, how they turn a blind eye to the suffering of people. This is their reaction to a part of country. And now they're saying we don't want to score political points. We don't want to score political points. We want Prime Minister Modi to visit the Manipur. We want Home Minister Amit Shah to do something about Manipur. We want N. Viren Singh to step down from Manipur's Chief Ministership and take some accountability. And this is not us. This is your MLAs. This is your NDLA.
A quick reaction before I wrap this.
I'll just quote I'll exactly quote what the Chief Minister of the Congress Party had told Mr. Chidambaram. Please delete this post. Manipur is in turmoil situation. It is very sensitive. So when Mr. Chidambaram tried to score political brownie points, tried to try and deal with the illegal immigrants, it is reported by the NDTV this morning that Mr. Megh Chandra, who was at that time at the helm of the Congress Party, asked Mr. Chidambaram to stop politicizing it.
Right. I'm afraid I'm completely out of time. Thank you so much, Dr. Pooja Tripathi and Pradeep, for joining us on the broadcast. Pradeep Bhandari of the BJP. Moving on now to pollution, and it is CAQM that's issued directives to tighten the enforcement at the gap as well as expedite action against pollution as far as violators are concerned. We're talking about pollution that remains in the dangerous category of over 350 points. The CAQM has also directed all Delhi NCR states to intensify as far as inspection and halt construction and demolition activities in accordance with the guidelines of the Graded Response Action Plan and take stringent action against those violating the norms. Special drives were mandated to impound the end-of-life vehicles as well as penalize vehicles without the Pollution Under Control certificate. In addition, the authorities were instructed to resolve the pending citizens' complaints on social media and apps in a time-bound manner, and this is by tagging the CAQM for tracking and monitoring. So daily reporting as far as GRAP-related action is concerned, that has also now been made mandatory.
सारे विषयों पे पूरी तरीके से ध्यान कर रहे हैं और कोऑर्डिनेशन कर रहे हैं. इसमें जितने भी मंत्रालय हैं वो सब आपस में कोऑर्डिनेशन कर रहे हैं. पिछले 2 महीने से लगातार मॉनिटरिंग की मीटिंग भी की जा रही है और जो प्रॉपर ग्रैब की गाइडलाइन है उसको पूरी तरीके से सख्ती के साथ इम्प्लीमेंट किया जा रहा है.
And a quick check on the pollution this morning. Coming in above 400 points is Jahangirpuri at 424, Wazirpur at 412, 409 in Bhavana. And above 400 points is Anand Vihar, where my colleague Shreya is joining us from. Shreya, whether it's Anand Vihar or it's Nehru Nagar, all these areas above 400 points this early in the morning. Take us through what is the forecast, how can we expect things to improve, because what it really seems like now is that we're waiting for the weather conditions to improve because nothing really seems to be working on the ground.
Absolutely, Divya. We were listening to Mr. Bhupendra Yadav talking about coordinated efforts towards curbing air pollution in the national capital and how the GRAP 4 measures are put in place and are being enforced quite strictly. But let me show you a clear scene of complete disregard towards environmental regulations and complete violation of GRAP 4 measures. Right here, you can see the construction work is going on unabated. You can see the JCBs functioning. Right now, I'm in a pollution hotspot in the national capital, which is Anand Vihar. It is one of the most densely populated areas in the national capital. Here you can see that mechanical sweeping is going on simultaneously. But how can one person, who is sweeping the roads, can curb the kind of dust that is being generated at this construction site? I mean, is it even possible for one person who is constantly sweeping the road since morning to curb the entire pollution crisis in Anand Vihar? We can clearly see the construction work is going on. This is the bus terminus right here. And we know that several restrictions have been put in place. BS3, BS4 vehicles are banned. And there is also a restriction on the kind of trucks that are entering from the neighboring states in Delhi. Non-CNG, non-electric electric vehicles are completely banned. And as you can see, I'm showing you an aerial view of Anand Vihar. This is what the crisis is. It is a densely populated area, increasing vehicular movement. The entire area is jam-packed, as you can see. Although we have been seeing a periodic flow of these anti-smoke guns being deployed. The water is being sprinkled to mitigate the dust as much as possible. But how can this construction work go on while GRAP 4 is in place, and we do not see any kind of monitoring being done at the ground level, that too for an area like Anand Vihar, which has historically been proven as one of the most polluted areas in the national capital, essentially because of the bus movements. But we can see the kind of dust that is being generated from the construction work right here. And of course, the Commission for Air Quality Management continues to issue strict directives about how GRAP 4 measures should be implemented, should be followed. Intensified action should be taken against violators of GRAP 4. But here, as I showed you right here, there is complete violation on ground, and we know that simply putting a ban on construction or demolition activities will not solve the issue, because we know here these are daily wage laborers. They have to earn a livelihood. The government or the private companies employing them will not give them the money if they don't work. But we also need to keep in mind the environmental hazard that the construction work kind of imposes. And we know that the Supreme Court has also said that right now, although the AQI is not over 400, it is hovering somewhere around 371. There has been a slight improvement, because earlier we have seen the pollution levels were at the severe plus category, but right now it is in the very poor category, which is as poisonous as earlier. But we can say for sure that although Supreme Court has said that the GRAP 4 measures should be in place until further court orders, we can still see a violation of GRAP 4 measures on ground at the national capital. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Shreya, for getting us all those details. And now let's just switch tracks from Delhi to Mumbai. And we're talking about the arrangements that are in place before counting takes place tomorrow. Do remember, Maharashtra went to polls on the 20th, and counting is going to take place tomorrow. And that's when the election results will be out. In Mumbai, 52.65% voting had taken place in the city, while in the suburbs of Mumbai, 56.39% voters had come out to cast their votes. And this is the counting that's going to start as early as 8 o'clock tomorrow on Saturday, and counting will be held in a total of about 36 centres for 36 constituencies. And to get more on this, we have my colleague Radhika joining us. Radhika, more than 2,700 employees are involved in the counting process. There's also training that's going on. We're talking about over 10,000 police personnel who have been deployed. Take us through the arrangements in place.
Absolutely. Stage set for counting tomorrow. Fascinating elections is what took place in the state of Maharashtra. So highly anticipated results tomorrow. All arrangements have been put in place across the city of Mumbai and across the state of Maharashtra. As far as Mumbai is concerned, 36 strong rooms, 36 counting centres across 36 constituencies. Yes, over 2,700 election officials across these counting centres. And apart from that, about 10,000 police personnel, security personnel across several of these centres. They are manning this place, training going on as to what the procedure is going to be, what are some of the protocols that need to be followed as the election day, counting day begins tomorrow at 8 a.m. Of course, this is a very, different election when you compare it to 2019. And a highly anticipated one as far as the results are concerned, because it's hard to predict. This time we have 6 parties in fray, 2 regional parties which were split, 2 NCPs, 2 Senas, and of course the Congress and the BJP. We know for a fact that there had been high voltage campaigns that we saw, be it from Mahayuti side or MV, all the top leaders in Maharashtra over a period of 2 to 3 weeks, speaking about different promises and guarantees for the public. And Latki Behan scheme is something that perhaps may have resonated well with people of Maharashtra and could work in favor of Mahayuti. MV also coming up with promises similar to these schemes targeted at youth, farmers, and of course women as well. So whose side citizens will take, and we know for a fact that this time the numbers as far as the voter turnout is concerned have also been at an all-time high. We're talking about close to 65% as far as the state of Maharashtra is concerned, and about 54 if you take the average of Mumbai city as well as Mumbai suburb, which is also an all-time high for the city of Mumbai. So what impact that will have as far as voter turnout is concerned. And the voting had been smooth, and the number of polling booths were also at an all-time high this time, which is why the queues were less. It was a smooth process as far as elections are concerned. And now, of course, the result day tomorrow, fragmented, parties, a crowded space as far as the Maharashtra politics is concerned. So is it going to be Mahayuti that will retain the power, or is it going to be MVA that will perhaps make a comeback? That is something we'll have to wait and watch out for. Very hard to predict. Some of the exit polls predicting a landslide victory for Mahayuti. Some also speaking about a hung assembly, and some, of course, giving good numbers to MVA as well. But the fact remains that parties are in a huddle. There are multiple meetings taking place in order to figure out what they should do next if it is a hung assembly. So they are in touch with several rebel candidates, independents, smaller parties to sort of, stream up the numbers. So yes, polling has, of course, concluded. Now, results tomorrow, and it starts at 8 a.m. and it is going to be a highly anticipated one, and certainly a fascinating one for the state of Maharashtra.
Right, all eyes on the state of Maharashtra, and results that will come out tomorrow, as will be the case in Jharkhand, who went into its second phase of voting also on the 20th. Now, Prime Minister Modi has wrapped up his historic 3-nation tour. He addressed the Parliament in Guyana, and the Prime Minister's 14th speech before a foreign legislator. He paid a tribute to Mahatma Gandhi as well. The Prime Minister offered prayers at the Saraswati Vidya Niketan, and during his visit, the Prime Minister was also conferred with the country's highest award, the Order of Excellence. The Prime Minister reiterated that it's democracy first and humanity first, and that is the strongest mantra to move ahead, is what Prime Minister Modi said. But he also met with prominent cricket personalities from the West Indies and emphasized during the meeting that as far as cricket is concerned, that sport serves as a unique bond connecting the two nations.
गयाना की इस ऐतिहासिक पार्लियामेंट में आप सभी ने मुझे अपने बीच आने के लिए निमंत्रित किया। मैं आपका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं। साथियों, भारत और गयाना का नाता बहुत गहरा है। करीब 180 साल पहले किसी भारतीय का पहली बार गयाना की धरती पर कदम पड़ा था। भारत और गयाना का रिश्ता आत्मीयता से भरा रहा है और जो बात मैं कभी नहीं भूल सकता और वो है चटनी। चटनी भारत की हो या फिर गयाना की, वाकई कमाल की होती है।
Following a packed day of fruitful bilateral engagements on Wednesday, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi continued his historic state visit to Guyana with an address to a special sitting of the National Assembly. During his remarks, the Indian leader underscored the importance of democracy and humanity for both national and global development, as well as the key roles of women and youths. He also highlighted that Guyana could serve as India's gateway into the South American and Caribbean regions. Prime Minister Modi also visited key historic sites such as the Mahatma Gandhi statue and the Arya Samaj monument in Georgetown, as well as the Saraswati Vidya Niketan school, where he had spent some time during his last visit to Guyana 24 years ago. The Prime Minister wrapped up his high-level visit in Guyana by engaging current and past Guyanese cricket icons and also prominent members of the Indian diaspora in Guyana. Prime Minister Modi said this visit, which is the final leg of his foreign tour, will not only build on the already strong bilateral relations at a government-to-government level, but also enhance people-to-people and cultural ties between Guyana and India. Modi is the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Guyana in 56 years. Approximately 40% of Guyana's 800,000 population are of East Indian descent. As shown upon his arrival Tuesday evening, as well as throughout his stay in Georgetown, Prime Minister Modi's visit was highly anticipated, especially by the Indian diaspora here. I am Fanu Manek Chand, reporting from Georgetown, Guyana.
And switching tracks now, let's just get you the very latest, and this is in regard of the upcoming parliament session. DMK has convened a very key meeting of MPs, and the meeting will be chaired by the party president and Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin. And to get more on this, we have Sam joining us. Sam, take us through the details of what time is this meeting expected?
Divya, this meeting to be chaired by Chief Minister and DMK Chief M.K. Stalin will be at 7 this evening at the DMK headquarters in Chennai. Sources in the party say Stalin is likely to clarify the party's stand on key issues and advise what will be the party's strategy if, in case, the BJP pushes a few controversial things like One Nation, One Poll, or the amendment to the Waqf Board Act and a few other issues. Many say one would be the DMK pushing for delimitation. If that comes, then the DMK would push for taking into account the 1971 population data and not the 2026 data, because in that case the state would lose seats or it may gain just a few seats compared to disproportionate hike in numbers for other states which have not been able to rein in on their population over the last few decades. Secondly, the party, if the government pushes One Nation, One Poll bill, then it will oppose it, saying that it's against the spirit of democracy, something they believe it's not enshrined in the constitution, impractical to hold simultaneous elections for Lok Sabha, Assembly and local bodies, and it also scuttles or destroys the natural checks and balances available in the present form of elections across the country. And thirdly, they will oppose any amendment to the Waqf Board Act, which the government has now brought it under the joint parliamentary committee. If that is brought in again, the party, which has a huge constituency of Muslim support, a Muslim vote bank, would not want to be seen supporting in any way. Already the party has made its stand very clear that it's again that the BJP is targeting the Muslim community through this kind of an amendment. And lastly, the state is also likely to push for devolution of at least 50% central taxes to state governments. Recently, when the Finance Commission had visited Tamil Nadu, the ruling DMK had presented a clear case why well-performing states like Tamil Nadu should not be penalized and large resources be diverted to less developed states, which they believe this model has not really worked over the last few decades, and they are pushing for a new model and ensuring 50% devolution to larger, well-performing states like Tamil Nadu. More clarity, Divya, at 7 o'clock when Stalin would chair the meeting, and we'll update you more on that a little late in the evening.
Thank you so much, Sam. All eyes on that crucial meeting coming up. We will come back to you for more on that. Switching tracks now to Karnataka, and it's the Bengaluru police that has collected 80 lakhs in cash in one day as traffic violation fines. The maximum number of violations were registered in the no entry category, and a special drive that will continue. We're talking about 88.6 lakhs that has been collected, and the most common violation, like we mentioned, was driving in the wrong direction, or as far as those stretches which are marked as no entry areas. And to get more on this, we have my colleague Pratibha joining us. Pratibha, take us through the details of this drive that will continue by the Bengaluru police.
Apart from that, they've also issued a warning to citizens about a surge in fake calls and malicious links demanding money for supposed traffic fines. The police department has stated that they have been receiving a rising number of complaints regarding these scams, and in an advisory that was released, the police have cautioned that these fraudulent calls impersonating traffic authorities in an attempt to deceive people would also be looked into, and proper action would be taken on that front. And mainly involving hit and run cases or sharing links with false claims to contain video footage of traffic violations. To bring this under control, this is a drive that has been undertaken by the traffic department. All eyes are on how this will really work on ground as far as the motorists here are concerned.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Words as far as a letter versus letter between the BJP and the Congress party as far as the Manipur crisis is concerned. And Delhi fights poor air quality with the AQI that remains in the dangerous category of above 350 points. Various parts of Delhi recording severe pollution levels. Prime Minister Modi wraps up his three-nation tour, says it's democracy first and humanity first, and that is a message that has been highlighted during his trip. 1 day to go for the results to be declared in the state of Maharashtra, and security has been tightened at the counting centres.
The last elections of 2024. It's the battle for India's economic heart. An election that will decide Maharashtra's future.
Can the big brother BJP manage the competing ambitions of Mahayuti? Can the Red Book rally the voters once again for Congress and its allies?
So as Maharashtra's future trajectory takes shape, we report from the ground.
Two visions, two ideology, one verdict. An election where no caste chemistry can yield a perfect formula.
It's a state that is splintered with power battles. The big question, will Maharashtra poll outcome unify parties or divide them further? And who will emerge as Maharashtra's undisputed leader?
We reached an agreement on patrolling. We have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. The understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the patrolling which we were doing in 2020.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World. as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
Welcome back. The world's biggest food and beverage companies on an average sell products in low-income countries that are less healthy than what they sell in high-income countries, according to a new report. Products sold by companies that include Nestle, PepsiCo, Unilever, Hershey's as well as Coca-Cola were assessed. 30 of the world's largest F&B manufacturers that account for 23% of the global F&B market on their performance to improve access to nutritious food. The food packaging should have labels on front. That is something that is now being asked by the NGO and the, based on to this new finding that the quality is substandard when it comes to packaged food in lower to middle income countries, including India. What can really be done about this? Well, I spoke with Pooja Malhotra, a nutritionist, and I also spoke with Arvind, a health influencer. Let's listen in to what they have to say. To get more on this, we also have with us Arvind Himmat Singhia. He is a food safety campaigner. We also have with us Pooja Malhotra, a nutritionist, joining us. Let me take my first question across to Pooja. Let's just talk about the nutrition as far as the packaged food is concerned. We're seeing an uptake as far as diseases are concerned. We're talking about non-communicable diseases in the country, which are almost 50%. And we're talking about obesity that stands at 24% for women, 23% for men. We're talking about over 10 crore people in the country who are suffering from diabetes. And all this is being linked to a change as far as their diet is concerned and their dependency on packaged food. And now what's really coming out is that packaged food is not as safe, or rather not as healthy as it's claiming to be. Pooja.
A very good morning, Divya. Very good morning, Revant, and to all the viewers. And thank you for having me speak on this extremely important and relevant topic of food labels. And this is becoming increasingly relevant because of the increasing dependency on the increased intake of packaged foods, the ultra-processed foods, which are all high in calories, saturated fat, added sugars, sodium. And there is increased intake of all these foods. At the same time, the non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, hypertension, their incidence is increasing. Like you mentioned, that there are about 10 crore diabetics in India, and India is now being called the diabetes capital of the world. Now, a middle-income country like India is reeling under the burden of double malnutrition. So while on one hand, we have a segment of our population which is dealing with undernutrition because they're not getting enough food to eat, they're not getting enough calories, enough nutrients. On the other hand, we have a huge segment of the population which is increasingly consuming these packaged and processed foods, which are full of these unhealthy ingredients and unhealthy nutrients, which is really, leading to an increased incidence of all these diseases. They are increasingly consuming much more calories and much lesser protein than they should be consuming. And as a result, these are increasing. And this is because of lacks in the labeling laws in our country. So while they are mentioning the nutritional information at the back of the label, which is really coming in a very small font and in a way which is not comprehensible to a large segment of the population. So even if the nutritional information is there, most of the people cannot really comprehend it, cannot really make sense of what it means to their health. So the labels need to be more interpretive. They need to be more descriptive. Some kind of a rating system needs to be evolved. It could be done in the form of a color scale or a colorimeter, something similar to a pH meter, where the foods could be given a color coding or a star rating, or it should be more bold. It should be more clear so that the consumer can understand. And there is a need to
like we've seen in Mexico, because they have in fact started putting out the ingredients out on the front of the packaging rather than the back, and which is what findings have now come out with, you know, that as far as sugary drinks are concerned, there's been a decline in sugary drinks, especially amongst the children, thanks to those warning signs that have been put out on the front of the packaging. Let's just go across to Arvind. Arvind, take us through when we talk about putting out these warning signs right in the front, where, you know, is there a lack of awareness, or can we say also affordability plays a big role when it comes to the kind of dietary measures that we have here in India, considering that, you know, this is impacting the lower income and the middle income countries rather than the high income countries? Is it because they have to keep the cost of the product low, which is why, you know, they are going in for such substandard material?
Yeah, so there are three broad reasons why the largest companies are giving us substandard material. One, of course, is the fact that we are lower income. So as a result, if it's a 10 rupee product, the cost price is often 1 or 2 rupees. So in 1 or 2 rupees, they really cannot give you something healthy. So one, of course, is the price point and the lower income nature of India. Two is the regulation, that the regulations are not strong enough in India, so the companies feel they can get away with anything they want. So that's number two. And number three is lack of health awareness. So even people who are who have the money, they're just not aware. So as a result, they're not willing to pay for something more better quality because they just don't know what is good, what is not good. So it's very important for all of us.
How misleading are the labels on a packaged material, whether it's even someone claiming to be organic or someone claiming to be, say, gluten-free? How authentic are those labels? Can we question whether it's actually gluten-free, whether it's actually organic, and whether it's actually high quality, or rather, is it actually healthy?
Yeah, it's very, very misleading. The front of pack is very, very misleading. The back of pack is relatively honest. So I say this one thing, leading brands are often the most misleading brands as well. And that's the sad reality of India. So you will see high protein, you will see products promoting high protein, but they'll have 2-3 grams of protein. You will see high fiber with barely any fiber. So the front of pack is very misleading. However, if you turn around the pack and if you read the back of the pack, the ingredient list and the nutrition label, that is relatively accurate. Of course, that also sometimes is not 100% accurate, but that is relatively accurate. And that's a great place to start.
Which are the names that one needs to like really be warned of? You know, if I see something on a packaging that I would, you know, whether it's high levels of sodium, etc. What are those names that I really need to watch out for?
So we need to look out for things like, usually when you look at the ingredient list, the one which is listed first is the highest in percentage. And so you should look out if the first 2 or 3 ingredients have any of those red flags. So red flags would be things like added sugars, and sugars can have a lot of names. So there are a lot of hidden sugars. If you Google and you search, then there are more than 20 kinds of hidden sugars. For example, high fructose corn syrup, maltose, dextrose, mannitol, sorbitol. There are many, many such names. So there are added sugars. Of course, the sodium content, which you would find in the nutritional composition table. So one needs to look at what are those first 2 or 3 ingredients. Very often you will find something, for example, a product like oat cookies. Now, it may barely have less than 10% of oat flour in it, and the rest of it would be refined flour, which is maida. So truly, you cannot call it an oat cookie. Another example I'll share is, say, you find those cashew nut biscuits or anything which contains nuts. Now they're going to highlight on the front that it contains nuts, whereas it may barely have less than 1% nuts, or less than, even 1% is high. They may have less than 0.5% of nuts in them. Right. So one really needs to, the need of the hour is to create awareness about how to understand, how to read, and how to comprehend these labels. And it'll be good if our regulators can make it compulsory to publish this information on the front of the label.
Right, let's just switch tracks now to the Consulate General of India that has put out this statement saying that they're cancelling some of the scheduled consular camps after the Canadian security authorities convened their inability to provide security. We have Vishal joining us. Vishal, given the fact that events were cancelled in the past and now again events are being cancelled going forward, with the Consulate General there saying that they are, they can't provide minimum security in order to provide protection to its organizers.
That is correct. That is a statement coming in from the consulate in the Canadian regime. The Indian government has released that statement. So it comes in the wake of several attacks that have happened in Canada in the last few weeks, especially on November 3rd when an attack happened outside a Brampton consulate where the consulate has arranged some activities in order to help some expatriates of India there. So these consular activities happen because Indian government facilitates some documentation services for these people. So that area was attacked. There was clash between some pro-Khalistani protesters and Indian people there. So that has prompted several attacks across Canada. In relation to that, the Indian government has come out with a statement saying that it is cancelling these consular events. In the last few weeks, 3-4 events have been cancelled, and the Indian government has said that the proper security arrangements have not been made by the Canadian government. So all of that has come into play, and it remains to be seen how long this will go on, because India has lakhs of expatriates there, lakhs of Indian population people there. So all of those people could be affected because of seizing of these activities on Canadian soil.
Right, Vishal, thank you so much for joining us with those details. And staying with international news, in his response to the ICC issuing a warrant for his arrest on allegations of war crimes, it's Benjamin Netanyahu's office that has now reacted to that, describing the ruling as absurd and a false lies. Meanwhile, the US has rejected the decision to issue arrest warrants for the Israeli Prime Minister and the country's former Defense Minister. Gallant is what the White House had to say. And heavily armed militants ambushed dozens of vehicles carrying passengers in Pakistan's restive northwest, killing around 50 people in one of the world's attacks. This is the worst attack as far as the region in recent years is concerned. The militants attacked the convoy in this particular area, and the rescue authorities have said that about 50 people have been killed and 20 others have been injured. Switching to sports news now, and it's India's Sharon Rachel Abbey that's won a gold in Asian Chess Championship for women with physical disabilities from Chennai. She battles a rare spinal condition. That has led to 90% disability, but it's Sam Daniel who spoke to the two-time national champion.
Joining us now, Sharon Rachel Abbey, who has won a gold in the Asian Chess Championship for women with physical disabilities. Sharon, thank you very much for your time, for joining us from Kyrgyzstan. How does it feel, and did you expect this?
To begin with, I'm thankful to God for helping me achieve this. His grace alone helps me move forward. Certainly, it's a dream come true winning gold at this level. I consider this as another milestone, and there is a long way ahead. I aim at being the first Grandmaster on wheelchair, and with support of all my well-wishers, I am quite confident of achieving my goal. Please continue to support me and keep me in your prayers.
All right. What kind of a hard work did you put in?
I practice to the best of my ability. Going to offline classes is certainly a challenge. I play more and more offline tournaments to gain practice, and I need the support of good players for playing practice.
Okay, what next, and what's your next target?
Being the first Grandmaster on wheelchair is definitely my next aim and target. The forthcoming major tournaments are National Selection Tournament. We are waiting for the dates. Hopefully, it will not clash with my 10th board exam dates. In July, we have the IPCA tournament, which will be held at Tata Nagar, Jharkhand. I hope that I will be able to better my performance, and I am aiming for gold there also.
Okay, is the chess you play different from the chess being played by other normal chess players?
Yes and no. The format is the same, but the normal players get to relax themselves by moving around and walking around, wherein I have to maintain the same postures during the entire game. This sometimes becomes a very tedious task, especially during long games. But the passion for the game is what keeps me driving and helps me concentrate.
And who is your inspiration?
My first coach, Sunita Jain Madam, who introduced me to chess and motivated me to take chess professionally, had told us about Janita Anto, a six-time world champion under physically disabled category. She is my idol and my role model. She's also currently my coach and helps me in learning chess.
Well, Sharon, congratulations again and wishing you all the best. Looking forward to meeting you in person for another interview when you're back in Chennai. Yet another honor for Tamil Nadu, a state that has produced many chess champions from Vishwanathan Anand to Pragnananda to Gukesh to Vaishali and now Sharon Rachel Abbey.
Thank you so much, Sam, for getting us that very special interview. And let's just get you the latest from the International Film Festival of India. And it's Randeep Huda's directorial debut. That was the opening film of the Indian panorama at the 55th International Film Festival of India taking place in Goa. The film, which explores the life of the controversial freedom fighter Savarkar. It's Randeep Huda's film that opened day two, and it is the film got all praises at the festival. My colleague Prashant spoke with the actor turned director.
नमस्कार, मैं हूं प्रशांत और मेरे साथ हैं रणदीप हुडा, जिनकी फिल्म स्वतंत्र वीर सावरकर इफी में गोवा फिल्म फेस्टिवल 55th जो गोवा फिल्म फेस्टिवल है वहां पर ओपनिंग फिल्म दिखाई गई है। और रणदीप, उसमें हम सबसे पहले तो ये जानना चाहेंगे कि फिल्म अंदर चल रही थी, आप देख रहे थे, अलग मजा है कुछ फेस्टिवल में फिल्म देखने का? आपने इतनी बार देखी होगी क्योंकि आप खुद डायरेक्टर भी रहे हैं और आपने एक्टिंग भी की है।
मैंने ये फिल्म पूरी एट लेंथ अभी भी मुश्किल से देख पाया, थोड़ी बहुत मैं नहीं देखा था, पर मैं जगह जगह हॉल्स में जाता था जब रिलीज हुई थी, तो लोग हंसते भी थे, तालियां भी बजाते थे, और 90% शोज के बाद लोग एंड में ताली ऐसे बजाते थे जैसे कि लाइव नाटक के थिएटर परफॉर्मेंस देखी हो, विच इज़ अ वेरी वेरी हार्टनिंग थिंग फॉर मी एज अ डायरेक्टर। और अभी भी मैंने बहुत समय के बाद देखी, तो मैं देख रहा था तो एकदम से लोगों का जो रिएक्शन आता था वो आप भी भूल गए थे कि अरे यहाँ पे ये रिएक्शन आया था, वो आया था। So it's very heartening. It's like, watching the movie all over again, and it's nostalgic, and of course, I had a great team, great cast, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. IFFI is a very big festival. इतने सालों से चला आ रहा है, और उसमें ओपनिंग फिल्म होना इंडियन पैनोरामा की, और विदेशी लोग भी यहाँ पे आके देख रहे हैं, तो आई एम वेरी grateful that I got this opportunity.
ये बताइए कि एक होता है आप सिनेमा हॉल पे फिल्म देखते हैं, अब आपकी फिल्म ओटीटी प्लेटफॉर्म पर भी है, और ओटीटी प्लेटफॉर्म पर जाने का मतलब है कि उसका एक्सपोजर जो दुनिया की ऑडियंस है उनके सामने, जिन्होंने जो सावरकर को नहीं जानते थे या जो और कैरेक्टर्स थे उनके इर्द गिर्द उनको नहीं जानते, वो उनको जानेंगे। जिन्होंने हिस्ट्री पढ़ी होगी शायद वो तो जानते होंगे, लेकिन जिन्होंने नहीं पढ़ी वो नहीं जानते होंगे। तो आपको बाहर से कुछ ऐसे रिएक्शंस मिलते हैं? क्योंकि ये एक अच्छी बात है कि इस तरह के फिल्मों को, जो कि बायोपिक्स हैं और एक हीरोज के बारे में, उनको ये ओटीटी प्लेटफॉर्म दे रहे हैं।
मैंने काफी फॉरेनर फ्रेंड्स को और हॉलीवुड में जितने मेरे दोस्त हैं जिनके साथ मैंने काम किया, उनको ये सब दिखाई, उन्हें मेरी परफॉर्मेंस बहुत अच्छी लगी, और उन्हें ये बात का अचंभा हुआ कि ये ऐसे भी लोग थे क्या और काला पानी में ऐसी सजा भी लोगों को मिलती थी। वो कॉलोनियलिज्म की निर्दयता जो कि हमारी बाकी फिल्मों में नहीं दिखाई जाती है, वो भी इसमें लोगों को समझ में आई, तो बहुत आई ओपनिंग था। अभी हमारे को और भी विश्व में कई मार्केट से इंक्वायरीज आ रही हैं इस फिल्म के लिए। मेरे ख्याल से ये फिल्म की इनिंग्स पूरी नहीं हुई है, अभी ये चलती रहेगी, और हो सकता है कि आगे जाके इसको और भी विश्व के और भिन्न देशों में लोगों को देखने का मौका मिले।
पूछा था आपने, कहा मैंने परफॉर्म किया है। जब आप फिल्म अंदर देख रहे थे तो किसी किसी सीन पे जो डायरेक्टर या एक्टर होता है ना, उनको हमेशा अपने काम में मैं इसको और बेटर कर सकता था। तो ये कितनी बार अंदर ऐसा हो रहा था जब आप देख रहे थे कि अरे यार ये चीज, क्योंकि बहुत सारे खामियां और जो खूबियां होती हैं वो हमें मालूम होती है, ऑडियंस तक नहीं पहुंच पाती हैं।
मुझे वो नहीं दिखा। मैंने अपना पूरा जोर लगा के बार बार सोच के ये कर दिया। अभी लोगों को, किसी को बहुत अच्छी लगती है, किसी को ये हिस्सा अच्छा लगता है, किसी को वो हिस्सा अच्छा लगता है, किसी को ये लगता है। पर मैं जब अब देखता हूँ, शायद मेरे पास समय कम था। एक ही खामी मुझे लगी पिक्चर में, मेरे पास समय कम था, बहुत ज़्यादा बोलना था। काश मैं उसमें कम चीज़ें डालता और उनको और इत्मीनान से बोलता।
And let's just switch tracks now, and it is the Prime Minister who met with the cricketing team in Guyana, and it is the Prime Minister who met the top cricketers there. This is the Prime Minister who spoke about culture, cuisine and cricket, which is very important, and that ties the two nations together. This is why the Prime Minister interacted with the leading cricket players in Georgetown. And with that, let's just... with that, let's also talk about the Sam's Forest Department that's rescued 6 elephants trapped in, this is in a factory pit in the area. After being informed by the locals, the Forest Department's rescue team pulled out the elephants from the pit using an earth mover. And moving on now, Indian Navy's 4th edition of the Pan-India Coastal Defence Exercise Sea Visual 24 was held mid-sea of Porbandar port, and this is in Gujarat. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of our news, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Do stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Our $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
हम ये चुनाव विकास के मुद्दे पर लड़ रहे हैं.
Let them come for an open debate with me. I've challenged Eknath Shinde multiple times.
Congress is in the worst situation in this state.
महायुति में भी इससे ज़्यादा dispute है.
Everything is fair in love and politics.
वोट देने वाले ही जिताने वाले हैं ना.
So we worked on 4 options.
I've been reporting on all
All issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always bustling. It's literally a city that never sleeps.
And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here. NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and
It's 10 a.m. You are watching NDTV 24x7. I'm Parmeshwar Baba. We've got an action-packed bulletin lined up for you over the next 1 hour from news from across the country and around the world. Let's begin with the headlines we're tracking currently. After a Canadian media report claimed that Prime Minister Modi and Dr. Jaishankar and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval were aware of an alleged plot to murder Khalistani separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar, the Justin Trudeau government has now denied having made any statements that link the leaders to the crime. Amid the escalating tensions in Manipur, BJP's JP Nadda has accused the Congress of sensationalizing the situation in the state. In fact, Mr. Nadda penned his accusations in a letter to Mallikarjun Kharge after the Congress president had written to Draupadi Murmu about the violence in Manipur. A thick layer of smog enveloped Delhi this morning, leaving residents struggling with severely compromised air quality. In fact, the AQI monitored by the Central Pollution Control Board revealed alarming levels. It remains about 350 across many areas. One day to go for Maharashtra's poll results. Security has been tightened at counting centres ahead of results day. In his first response to the ICC issuing a warrant for his arrest on allegations of war crimes, Benjamin Netanyahu's office has described the ruling as absurd and false lies and said the decision is anti-Semitic. India's batting woes continue as they lose 4 wickets early in the inning. At the end of the first session, Australia is in a commanding position.
Oh, that sucks. That is out. Perfect line and length.
Well, our big focus, the Justin Trudeau government has denied linking Prime Minister Modi, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval to criminal activities within Canada. The statement also said on the 14th of October, because of a significant and ongoing threat to public safety, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and officials took the extraordinary step of making public accusations of serious criminal activity in Canada perpetrated by agents of the Government of India. This clarification follows a report in a Canadian newspaper that cited an unnamed national security official claiming the alleged plot to murder Nijjar was orchestrated by Union Home Minister Amit Shah. In fact, the report further alleged that Prime Minister Modi, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and Ajit Doval were informed about the plan. For the latest clarification, let's go across to my colleague Vishal Vivek, who joins us live from the newsroom at the moment. Vishal, so Justin Trudeau's government has now denied linking Prime Minister Modi, Dr. Jaishankar to criminal activities within Canada?
That is correct. So, as you mentioned, an earlier report from a reputed Canadian media organization called the Globe and Mail had claimed that both Prime Minister Modi and Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar, as well as National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, were all connected in some way to the killing of separatist leader and